Last time we covered the new content cop from Idubbbz, a blatantly terrible hit piece that completely destroyed Ian's 10-year friendship with Ethan Klein. And for what exactly? The clout bonus he gets for collaborating with Hassan? That's not really worth a whole lot nowadays. Hassan isn't exactly a well-liked creator anymore, apart from people in his own sphere. Speaking of Hassan, apparently he was defending North Korea today. A good person to attach yourself to, Ian. The content cop has just contradiction after contradiction. It was a complete and total utter failure, and especially now after Ethan has responded to the content cop. He's now uploaded a standalone video further going over the content cop, and that's what today's video will be all about. I'd go over everything Ethan brought up about the content cop, but to be honest, a lot of what he says is stuff I said in the video prior, so I'm only going to bring up a few things. One thing Ethan brings up is how Ian refuses to bring up the CPS call.
My good friend Ian, in his hour-long takedown, did not mention one time Child Protective Services.
As Ethan says, and just like I said last time, the CPS call is a key thing that Ian omitted in his video, just making it out like Ethan was against these guys for absolutely no reason, that he was a harasser. Ethan made a very decent video calling out some genuinely bad behavior from Hassan, and these guys all completely went off the rails. Another thing Ethan pointed out that I myself didn't even notice is that a majority of the clips Idubbbz shows are from the episode of his podcast all about how the Snark subreddit is behind the CPS call on Ethan and how they were celebrating it. This would further clarify all of the rage and hatred that Ethan had in the clips that Ian showed. You wouldn't know all this if you were new to the drama. And it's very interesting that despite showing clips from that podcast episode, he never brought up CPS once. Speaking of the H3 Snark subreddit, I actually think Ian cited the Snark Reddit as a source at one point in his video.
Who's posting this in the first place? If you do a little bit of research, it seems like it's an account whose intention is to make Ethan crash out. One of the users on the Snark Reddit points this out. They're like, I've seen this account before.
Which is about the same as citing Bad Empanada as a source when shitting on Ethan. I gotta reiterate this. Ethan criticized Hassan platforming so these guys tried to take away his children. Then to say him being emotional is a bad thing, despite ending your video off fucking crying. This guy sucks ass. Ethan then decides to focus on Demolished and all the horrible things she said, such as backing up the claims Bad Empanada made.
Give a fuck about your health, or your posture, or your dog shitting all over the house to the point where your kids are getting giardia. That's the image of someone who is not well.
And saying that calling CPS on Ethan and his family is fine since his children won't remember anything about it.
Create any bad memory for them. You're not forming memories at 3 years old, and it's very rare that you're forming memories at 5 years old.
Once again, it's context Idubbbz chose not to include in this video. The worst part about all this is because at this point, it's blatantly obvious that the only reason Ian did this has to be malice, like cutting out the name of the episode of that podcast that would expressly say why Ethan is so fired up, rephrasing entire things they're saying to make it sound like they're making a whole different argument, intentionally steering away from the CPS call and how Hassan and co led to it happening. Ian just has to be sweeping for Hassan massively. Ethan also directly points out how bad of a psychopath Bad Empanada is. The guy was taking credit for CPS being called on Ethan. That guy is psychotic. Ethan decides to talk about Froggy Tonic and completely shatters Ian's defense of this person and how he, oh, it was just my editor of like a year ago. Ethan shows how around the time Froggy was saying all this shit, Anissa was still interacting with this person positively. Ian in his own video said he saw the things Froggy was saying and just let it be, often agreeing with what he was saying. But in DMs, he was telling Ethan they weren't cool with this guy. So rather than just publicly denounce him, they basically sided with Froggy and Hassan and his friends. 8-year-long friendship, or my new friends who say the wildest shit and are currently hated by most people who aren't politically mind-fucked. I want to say, if anything, this video genuinely comes off like Ethan is hurt by Idubbbz actions. I mean, these guys were friends for years. Ian has met Ethan's children. Ethan comes across as very hurt, while Ian's video made it out like this is something he wanted to do for a while. As Ethan brings up, by the way, Ian tried to weaponize Ethan's mental health constantly throughout the video. It's actually gross.
And by the way, to my good friend Ian of 8 years, I really appreciate you weaponizing my mental health against me
to make Ethan crash out. He's having a parasocial, weird crash out.
To further expand on this, Ian also makes it out like the extent of his interactions with Demolished and all these people is that he just follows them, and then he filmed a video with them, basically justifying Ethan's anger towards you. Guys, I just followed Demolished. We aren't friends. I'm actually so not friends with her. I'm gonna film a hit piece with them and defend them. But now we get to the wildest part of this video. Ethan decides to drop a bombshell. Around the same time Ethan had CPS called on him, he also was sent something horrifying in the mail. That something being 2 human skulls, which led to him having an interview with the FBI. This whole thing was fucked up already with the CPS call, but the human skulls push it from morally reprehensible to we need to lock these guys up. I mean, this is clearly a threat, no matter how you look at it. I do see some people saying that this threat is pointed at Ethan's kids, but Ethan has 3 kids, not 2. I think it's much more likely the threat is directed at Ethan and Gila. No matter who the threat is pointed to, it's fucked up, and I think the reason they were sent to specifically is intentional. I do also want to clarify something else. I'm not saying this, and I don't think Ethan is either, but I don't think whoever sent these skulls is like killing people and ripping their skulls out like the Predator movies. I think it's way more likely that this is someone who just bought the skulls online, which is weird, but something you can legally do. That's not me trying to downplay this though. I mean, this is very obviously a death threat, no matter how you look at it. I just see some people saying the person who sent these skulls had to be some type of like serial killer, and I want to clarify, I don't think that's the case. Ethan ends his video off by saying that it's kind of disappointing that just a year prior, Idubbbz made a whole video saying how wrong it was to make the Content Cop series because it led to hate, but now he's thrown that all away to make this one. I don't actually think Ian has any real principles that at this point that he preached so much about in his video. I think he's just politically mind-fucked. Now, before I end this video, I do actually want to bring up one other thing. People on the Snark subreddit and in Hassan's community, such as Bad and Panada, are trying to downplay Ethan getting sent a human skull. Now, they're not claiming the skull is fake, no. I think to anyone who looks at it, they can clearly tell this is a real skull. But they are instead claiming Ethan bought and mailed the skull to himself to make himself look better and more sympathetic. Yeah, because Ethan needed more sympathy after already getting a false CPS call on him. The Snarker's proof for this is that, here's a skull that looks similar. He left the tag on so he could return it. Then apparently the listing went down, so it became Ethan contacted the site and had them take the skull off listing. The leaps and bounds of logic for these people is beyond crazy. There was zero evidence the skull was listed on the site, so rather than just give up, now apparently Ethan has the power to contact this random site that sells human bones to cover his tracks. I mean, these guys will do anything but say, hey, this was uncool. Literally, if you check the hellscape, that's all they're talking about. It's disgusting. I do wonder how Ian will respond to this, or if they'll pull another Creator Clash 2 and ignore this situation again before it ultimately fucks their event up. I'll say what a lot of other people are saying. Don't donate to Creator Clash, just donate directly to charity so you can guarantee your money goes to there instead of a red carpet event these guys have. With that though, I think we can end the video off. As of right now, I want to make one more video about this whole situation covering Idubbbz' podcast where he initially addressed Ethan and the CPS call, as well as his apology for the Content Cop series, but as of right now, that's about it. I don't know, follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, and subscribe, I guess, or you'll get a human skull in the mail too. Anyway, I don't know. Later.